Hey there, dreamers, and welcome back to Imagine with Royce. If you are new to the channel, hello and welcome. My name is Royce. I'm a painter, sculptor, and a collector. Today, I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes look into a day in the life of an animation figure finisher working on the animatronics at the Disneyland Resort. Let's get started. All right, so every single day is different, and that's one of the best things about being an animatronic figure finisher. Truly, you never know what you're going to get. Of course, we do huge rehauls and refurbs on certain attractions. So, for instance, if we're working on the Jungle Cruise, and if you need to get that open at a certain date, all the team pretty much is going to be there until well, let's backtrack a little bit. Let's start first and foremost on the timing. So I would start, when I first started 10 years ago in September, next month, I cannot believe it's been 10 years ago. I started at 3 a.m. So that was a lot, so you can't really be in the jungle at 3 because it's dark. So what do you do? So for me specifically, there was like a little whiteboard right where you clocked in, and it would show, your paint lead would write down, Royce, go to Snow White Scary Adventures, work on the Hag, or go to Sleeping Beauty's castle, work on Maleficent and the displays. It could be anything and everything. Anything that moved, let me remind you, we worked on. So we would work on that until the lights turned, the sun rose, and then we would go out to the Jungle Cruise. But if we weren't working on a full refurb, this would be my day. So I would clock in, and, it was really early. So everyone would be tired. So we would be bad. We would clock in, and then we would go get coffee in our break room. There would be 2 huge pots, and we would just kind of mentally prepare ourselves for the day. We would look at our assignments and see what needs to be done, and we would all kind of just disperse and go out into the attractions, and it was really cool. Sometimes you would pair up, sometimes you would go solo. So let's say, for instance, today it was just me going solo. So oh gosh, I went to, say, Pirates. Usually Pirates we went in twos, but I would hop in my golf cart, grab my paints, and I would look at my documentation to see what pirate needed to be touched up. And this really goes into our partnership with my art director, Walt Disney Imagineering's figure finishing animatronic specialist. Her name's Leslie. She was really good at calendars and making sure every figure got looked at in its due time. So let me be really clear here. Every single animatronic has a calendar date to where it's looked at. Some of them actually come into the ride every year, depending on the figure. So not every animatronic has a double. And if they do, it's really great because we could work on the double, make sure it looks beautiful, and then finish it and just keep it in the shop. And when it's time, or if it breaks, we could just swap it out seamlessly like that. No one will know. But if it doesn't have a double and it's really imperative to the storytelling of the attraction, then we have no choice but to go out into the ride to work on the figure. So that would happen quite a bit, actually. Say, for instance, there's no double for the auctioneer. So if he had any issues, like he got a new hand, for instance, I got an assignment once, he got a new hand put on, got to paint it, got to age it. So that's something that I would do. And then I would really take my time working on these figures. So we would get into the ride probably around 3:45, 4 o'clock, because it takes a long time. You have to get your ID, tag out. If you work in ops, you know what I'm talking about. You have to call in and say, this is Royce from Animatronics working on the ride, so that they know you're there, because there are sensors everywhere. And I tested the theory once, me and my colleague, and we didn't time out, and we were working in Toontown, and sure enough, security came, and we flagged the sensors, and since nobody had tagged out, that's what was going on. However, we were installing that gopher, but anyway, so we would really take our time working on these because we obviously want to make sure that it looks the best that it can. And then we would go on to our first break. Sometimes we would just work all the way through. My lunch would be 7:30 in the morning. So at that point, I would eat a lot of breakfast. I would go, this is back when animation department was in Disneyland behind Toontown. Even now, you could still go to the main, little cafes behind various parts of the resort and eat. They were always serving breakfast, so I would eat a breakfast burrito, or for me specifically, I would eat next to the cafe behind TDA, which had the best breakfast because it served the executives. And I would get oatmeal or just whatever, chat on the phone, watch the news. And then from that point, because at this time, by the time I actually clocked back in from lunch, it was around 8 a.m. The ride ops would be, adjusting and testing the ride vehicles. So for us, we could no longer be in the attractions. So this is where we went into the shop and we worked on figures that were already pulled out. So this could be anything from a Tiki Room Bird to a Small World doll to Zurg, from Buzz, or Finding Nemo. There's constantly fish and crabs and lobsters in the shop from that attraction, just because it is so harsh on the paint and those fiberglass figures. Or we could have something like Ursula's arm from DCA or Mater from Racers. It could be anything and everything, which was really cool. You get assigned it, and we all had like our little cubes in the shop, and we would just work. A lot of people would bring headphones. I would bring headphones and just listen to music, kind of zone out. When Imagineering's art direction came, we would kind of, obviously give them our attention, because she would come and look at our work and see what we're doing, what's going well, what's not. And then sometimes we would have meetings about, future attractions, projects, odds and ends. We had a really good relationship with parks, and we would do, of course, other things besides figures. Of course, retirement for, a long lasting cast members. We would paint like mailboxes and plaques and make custom statues. I got a custom statue from the team when I left and got promoted, so that was obviously super, super cool to get one. But that's kind of a day in the life of an animatronic figure finisher. I can't imagine people looking at the outside in could really grasp everything that I just said. It's a lot. You work on figures that are 50, 60 years old sometimes, and they have a life on their own. They have a fan base of their own. So it's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders to ensure that the figures look their best and are their best. And sometimes I would be really tired in the morning. I would wake up, and I switched to 5 a.m., which was a lot better, but I always told myself every time I woke up, Royce, this is a job that a lot of people applied for. You were lucky and blessed enough to get this role. Get up, get your butt up, and do your best. And that's what I did. And I would say, for anybody that is looking to be an animatronic figure finisher, paint. That's pretty much all I did. I painted different like statues and sets for theater. Paint stuff that's different. Don't just recreate. Create your own stuff. Imagineering's looking for imagination. Disney always is looking for the most talented people that they can out and within the company to obviously bring the best that they can for their guests. So that would be my tips for anybody. And you all are not shy. Hit me up on my Instagram, and I try to reply to as many messages as I can. I get quite a bit. There's a lot of people that want this role. So that's what I hope these videos do, is help people understand the job. Because obviously I came in as a fan, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there comes a point where you have to take off your fan cap and put on your Imagineering cap, and you have to take it very seriously. And you have to think, not only as a fan, but the responsibility, and you have to have the skill set. And of course they teach you, you learn along the way. You never stop growing as an artist, but they're looking for core skills, and like color matching and furring and feathering, and a lot of different skill sets with mediums like silicone, latex, even oil, paint. I did a lot of stuff. Illustrations I've done for the company as well. So it's been a ride, and that's kind of a day in the life of an animatronic figure finisher. And I hope that all of you enjoyed the pictures. I'm sure you did. If you did, please please hit subscribe. It's free. And also hit that bell icon. That way you're notified whenever I upload a new video. I have a lot of Haunted Mansion stuff coming up. I'm going to be working on Gus from the Haunted Mansion, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, as always, dreamers, always remember not only to follow your dreams, but to chase them. And I will catch you all in the next one. Have a magical day. Bye. Later.